Hey guys, it's Brian back at you with another video, and what you guys didn't see were the previous 12 takes I just did for that kettlebell press. So I'm a little bit winded, but you know what guys, I got this. Today I want to answer the question, how do I find my strengths? Or how do I know what my strengths are? This is a very important question, and when it comes to what people normally think of strengths, especially in the realm of career, they list off all the things that they're good at. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, maybe they're good with a paintbrush, they're good at writing, they speak another language. But when you think about it, it doesn't really get to the core of the strengths. These are just skills that you might have. The other thinking is that your strengths are the opposite of what your weaknesses are. And that's not true either. So let's say you're shy, you're introverted, then automatically the assumption is made that if you were to train yourself, to teach yourself to become less shy, to become extroverted, that you are becoming stronger. And that's not true either. While yes, you will become a better person for looking at your weaknesses and working on them and improving them, but does that make you necessarily stronger? And I don't think so. And to support this point, we have to define what strength is. And that is, strength is a combination of skills, knowledge, and talent. The first part is skills. Skills are things that you can do, and these are things that you can be taught or you can learn through experience. Then you have knowledge, which is the knowing, the learning part of it all. This is the very cerebral aspect, and someone can teach this information to you, or you can learn information from the internet, from a teacher, from a mentor. And then you have talent. Talent is this signature characteristic of you that you go to repeatedly when you're trying to solve a problem, when you're trying to fix something, when you're tackling a stressful situation, or when you're having a good time. You see the world within this characteristic, within this lens. So let me give you an example. I was volunteering at the hospital several years ago in the intensive care unit. This is where the patients after surgery would go to recover. Most of the time, they're asleep, but the few times where they needed something, I would get them orange juice, ice chips, and just to see how they were doing. But one thing I noticed was that I wasn't really connecting with them. I was just their waiter. I was just providing them the ice chips or the water that they wanted. Even though I would try to converse with them, talk to them, get to know them, there was never a genuine connection. But when I saw the other nurses do it, it was a whole new world. They felt like they were being cared for. They felt like they knew the nurse for several years. I knew these patients as long as the nurses knew these patients. We were doing the exact same thing. But for some reason, she was able to connect with the patients way better than I could. And I volunteered for several months there, and even at the end of that term, I still felt like I was far behind. I tried to learn from the nurses as best as I could, looking at what she would say, how she would say it, what she would do, and how she would do it. I was frustrated. I couldn't do it as well as she could. And the reason for that is because she has the talent for empathy. She's got this really strong talent to connect with others that I just don't have. And so I realized it was a weakness of mine, that I just don't have this ability to connect. And here's the thing, I tried working on it, I did get better at it, but there was no way I was really, really good at it, not at her level. It wasn't my thing, it wasn't my characteristic, it wasn't in my repertoire of talents. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Talent is an innate part of you, and you just have to find out what that talent is. This is something that you can't learn. This is something that you can't train. You have to discover what your talents are. And once you find what your talents are, you can then build up the knowledge, you can then build up the skill, and in total, really build up your strength. So the question is, what are you supposed to do with all this information? We know where to get skills, and we know where to get knowledge. It's the talent that we have difficult time trying to discover. So now your goal is to figure out more about you. So over the next several weeks or several days, I want you to think about all the things that you enjoy doing, and at the same time I want you to think about all the problems you've had, all the issues you've had, all the projects that you've hated to do. What were the characteristics in those moments that made you enjoy doing that? What were the things that pulled you through those difficult times? So for example, you might realize that you are an impatient person, that you need to act, that you need to get things done, and you don't think, you just do, and the thinking comes after. That's okay, it's not a bad thing. What you really want to see from that experience is that your talent might be the type of person that needs to get something done, that needs to act on it. Perhaps you're an optimist. You see everything in a positive light. more so than your counterparts, than your friends, and for some reason you see the bright side in everything. Or maybe you're an absolute pessimist and you see everything wrong with the plan. Here's the difference between the conventional wisdom and what I'm talking about today. A pessimist is typically seen as a bad quality to have, but here's the thing, it's not. If you put it in the right context, it can be an absolute strength. Think of a pessimist in a situation where he's working for process development or project management. And this is the type of person that can critique every step of the way, right? They can see all the problems at every step and pinpoint what needs to be done. This is someone that you really want on your team so that they can figure out all the problems up front and not have to deal with it later down the road. Guys, I hope this gives you an idea of how to find your strengths. Remember, strength is a combination of your skills, knowledge, and talents. The skills and knowledge part, that's easy. You can get that elsewhere. You can get that from your professors, teachers, from the internet, from books, but it's the talents. That is the most difficult part because that's a special characteristic of you. It's an innate part of you. So there you have it, folks. If you want me to answer a question of yours in a future YouTube video, go to my website, 101mentoring.com. There you can also schedule a video mentoring session with me or email mentoring. And also I have 2 new e-products that you can check out and see if that's something that you'd be interested in. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.